3 ways the state commits backdoor gun confiscation.
Yes, freeze!
Number 3. Red flag laws. Red flag laws are laws which permit relatives, roommates, guardians, or law enforcement to seek a court order for police to seize an individual's firearms based on a fear of some impending physical danger posed by the individual. While the law may sound like it is protecting people from imminent threats, the reality is that red flag laws are actually undermining due process by taking people's property before the accused can defend themselves in a courtroom. What this means is that the burden shifts from being innocent until proven guilty to guilty until proven innocent. After confiscation, the accused individual must petition the court to get their firearms back, essentially making them bear the burden and expense of maintaining their fundamental rights. Red flag laws are especially dangerous because politicians continue to argue expansion, suggesting that more people should be allowed to file reports, from postal workers to next-door neighbors. This has the potential for politicization, where those who want gun control can use the law to abuse others without meaningful consequence. As evidence of the potential dangers, one man in Maryland, 61-year-old Gary Willis, was shot to death by police for refusing to give up his guns based on a red flag order. His niece, Michelle Willis, told reporters that her uncle liked to speak his mind but wouldn't hurt anybody. In 2018, several states have a red flag law in place, including California, Connecticut, Florida, Indiana, Oregon, and Washington, with more unfortunately following suit. Number 2. War on drugs. The war on drugs has been used to deny individuals their fundamental gun rights. Especially of note is the classification of cannabis as a Schedule I drug by the federal government, meaning that it is listed as a drug with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Thanks to culture change, people at large have discovered that cannabis does not deserve this label, and have worked to get states to legalize cannabis use for both medical and recreational purposes. However, this has not stopped the federal government from using its powers to continue oppressing individuals for what is otherwise illegal activity that is less dangerous than alcohol and cigarettes. When purchasing a firearm from a federal firearms licensed dealer, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Federal Agency asks purchasers on Form 4473 to note if they are a user of marijuana. It asks, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Followed by a warning of, the use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. This statement is meant to prevent people from being able to attain firearms even if they have a legal medical marijuana card or otherwise are eligible to have marijuana under state law. Despite the DEA coming out with a report in 2017 titled Drugs of Abuse, which stated that there are no deaths from marijuana overdose reported, the federal government continues to abuse individual property rights by threatening to use guns against people for simply wanting to protect their loved ones. Number 1. Banning guns piecemeal. The greatest manipulation tactic politicians use for gun control is the banning of guns one piece at a time by using ambiguous labels. For example, the term assault weapon has been used to manipulate the public into banning guns based solely on cosmetic features. Assault weapon literally means a gun that has a selective fire switch, allowing the gun to become a fully automatic machine gun. However, politicians tout this phrase to mean any rifle that is black, can accept detachable magazines, and has some kind of pistol grip and other accessory receiver. Of course, these features have nothing to do with the internal mechanics of the gun itself, so the ruse is laid to ban guns slowly through ignorance on gun features. Such a ban took place in 1994 at the federal level under the Public Safety and Recreational Firearms Use Protection Act. This act lasted until 2004, when it was permitted to sunset in the legislature. The ban included semi-automatic rifles and pistols able to accept detachable magazines and 2 or more items like a pistol grip, a bayonet mount, a threaded barrel, or a folding stock. Of course, these features did not, in and of themselves, make the guns banned more deadly in what came out of the barrel. Rather, the ban was focused on eliminating elements of convenience and aesthetic, so that guns looked less scary to the ignorant. Although the federal ban ended, it inspired some crony state politicians to try to implement their own bans, which in some cases were even worse than the federal ban that grandfathered existing guns. For example, states like California, Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and Hawaii have passed assault weapon bans in similar fashion to the federal ban. Some of these states have implemented more robust restrictions and have passed legislation to come after people for possession, despite buying before the ban. In 2016, Senate Bill 1446 was signed into law in California, banning at large what politicians called high-capacity magazines, which they defined as magazines capable of holding more than 10 rounds. Police were set to perform confiscation until federal courts temporarily enjoined the legislation from being enforced. The Ninth Federal Circuit affirmed the temporary injunction in the case Duncan v. Becerra. While this injunction is a short-term victory, the legislation may be rewritten in a new way to ban guns and gun parts. As can be seen, the government's war on guns is a serious issue that must be tackled with vigilance. Politicians are looking down every avenue they can to ban guns, and are willing to lock people away and even murder them for nothing more than possessing a gun they do not like. Remember that all laws are enforced by men with guns, police. Police officers can and will murder people to enforce gun laws, especially under the guise of fearing for their life, because people will not willingly hand over their fundamental property rights. Please help take a stand before it's too late. Never compromise on fundamental rights.
Thank you for watching and for supporting my work. And a special thank you to my producers, the Asian capitalists, Zach Glakowski and Crawford K. McDonald of ECM Real Estate Group. To join my monthly live hangouts and to help choose the next video I produce, join my Patreon page at the Philosopher's Pho or Boba Tea level. See you soon!
Yes, freeze!